The 4th of July is on the way. That's the day we commemorate the start of the greatest nation in the world ever to create a generation of young people who think it's the worst nation in the world. That's right. After nearly 2.5 centuries of an America that has produced unprecedented peace, wealth, science, health, freedom, and equality, we are now being condemned by the youngsters who created man buns and duck-faced selfies. Sure, the young folks say, when the Founding Fathers declared their independence from England on July 4th, 1776, they were risking their lives to establish a new creed of liberty that contained the distilled political wisdom of humankind. But could they binge watch Big Bang Theory while texting emojis and painting their toenails with sparkles at the same time? I don't think so. The Founding Fathers included genius inventors and philosophers, as well as international statesmen, hero soldiers, and generals. But they were all white men. Why admire them when you are surrounded by rainbow-colored people of indeterminate gender who know how to make a loud ree noise to protest white supremacy, patriarchy, and smallpox, 3 things that no longer exist, largely because of Americans. But if there's one thing young people know, it's that America is bad, because it doesn't have a big enough government. Look at socialist countries like Cuba and Venezuela, where you have free health care. So if you get injured at a food riot, you can go directly to an abandoned hospital building and get Michael Moore's autograph for absolutely no cost except your freedom and dignity. Here in rotten America, because of all the slave-holding, Indian-killing, worker-exploiting, capitalist, patriarchal white men with smallpox, you have to actually pay doctors for curing you before you send a text to have a 3-course meal delivered direct to your dorm room so you don't have to interrupt your conversation about how awful America is. Because of July 4th, American ideals, creativity, and prosperity have lifted the entire world to new levels of freedom and happiness. But that was so unfair to those cultures that were marginalized simply because they were different and wanted to remain in the Middle Ages where they could enslave and slaughter people. And what about American women? Look how oppressed they are. I would even say that American women have no voice, except how would I then explain that loud whining noise coming from some of the most privileged and powerful females on the planet? So, as we approach this July 4th, young people find themselves on the horns of a dilemma. Should they celebrate and memorialize the never-before-seen accomplishments of a nation more powerful, peaceful, and free than any that has ever existed? Or should they sit around in their parents' basements and talk about how woke they are? My suggestion, try to contribute something to the beautiful culture you're privileged to find yourself in. Or conversely, put a sock in your mouth, which would be a contribution in and of itself. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shaped, ipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hurrah!
All right, we are back in an unidentified bunker that we will be continuing to use until we have an actual studio, which is being built. I can see it out the window. I can see the chocolate champagne fountains, some of the entirely naked dancing girls, amazing. And elephants on parade that do tricks and everything that will be in there within a couple of weeks. But now we're in this crummy little dive with the funny lamps from the No-Tell Motel behind me. But tomorrow is the mailbag day. And I know what some of you are thinking. You are thinking, oh, only one more day, and this miserable excuse for a human existence I've been scuttling through like a lobster on the floor of salty seas. It will be over, and all your questions will be answered if you are a subscriber to thedailywire.com. If you're a subscriber, you can send in your questions. I'll answer them, but no matter what the subject, religion, politics, personal things. And all the answers are guaranteed 100% correct and will change your life on occasion for the better. And if you subscribe now, it's only a lousy $8 a month, whereas on July 10th, is that it, Austin, July 10th? Yes, July 10th, the prices go up. I think they will then be 50 cents per word Ben Shapiro speaks. So it'll be approximately $15,000 an hour. And if you subscribe now, it will be $8, lousy $8 a month, and will remain that way even after the rates go up for all the little people. And if you subscribe for a year, you get Ben's book, Say It's So, written with his dad, David Shapiro, about the 2005 White Sox championship series. So let's talk about how much the media sucks, okay? We're talking about this. You know, we talk about the media a lot, and I want to explain why I hate them so much. I've got a PragerU video coming out on Thursday or Friday, I think it drops, and it's about fake news, and it's about the fact that it's not this story or that story that's fake news. It's the whole way the news is reported in most of the mainstream media in America. And I think that that is the thing that we're looking at as we see the CNN scandal explode. It's not just CNN. It's one CNN scandal after another, really. It's not just CNN. CNN is at the forefront. They're being caught out and they're being tripped up, but it's all of them. It's ABC, CBS, NBC, News, all the news departments, and it's the New York Times, and it's the Washington Post. And I want to talk about why it matters. What it has done to our country to have the news so one-sided and so corrupt. And you know, it's not that these people are bad people. It really isn't. It's that when you surround yourself with people, only with people who agree with you, after a while you become radicalized. After a while you begin to think that this is the only way that people think. And this is why we keep having the hilarious spectacle of these polls that come out and tell everybody, oh, the Democrats are going to win, the Democrats is going to be a landslide, and then suddenly we get to watch people on CNN with their faces falling as the shock of reality comes in like smoke, like gas leaking under the door. The reality comes in this sealed environment, and suddenly they realize that they've just been talking to themselves. Not only is nobody watching them, nobody believes them. And why does nobody believe them? Because when you are sequestered among only people who agree with you, you start to make mistakes. So 3 prominent journalists at CNN resigned on Monday after the cable news network was forced to retract and apologize for a story on its website involving a close ally of President Trump. The article linking Anthony Scaramucci, a hedge fund manager and Trump confidant, to a Russian investment fund supposedly being investigated by the Senate, was removed from CNN.com late last week after the network decided it could not fully stand by its reporting, and after they were caught out online by people pointing out that the whole thing was ridiculous. They had one anonymous source and they went with it completely against any standards of journalism. Frankly, I think you should have to have a named source before you go with it. It's very rare that anonymous sources can be trusted, not because sometimes they're not telling the truth, but you never know when they're telling the truth, and the reader or the viewer never knows. The resignations, this is from the New York Times, a former newspaper, are a black eye at a sensitive moment for the news organization, which has emerged as a regular target of Mr. Trump and his supporters. The president relishes dismissing the network's coverage as fake news, and his closest advisors have accused the channel of harboring a bias against Mr. Trump. Well, guess what? We no longer have to accuse them. We no longer have to suspect them. Now we know, because our friends at Project Veritas have done it again. They have gone in and sent an underground reporter, as is their wont, and have exposed what they're doing. This is James O'Keefe, of course, at Project Veritas. He sent in an undercover reporter, and he got this guy, John Bonnifield, a supervisor and producer, to talk about the way this station is run under Jeff Zucker and has been run forever. And, you know, well, we're going to play some of these tapes. I mean, it is really worth looking at. They have it's this hidden camera expose. Now, remember, this thing that happened at CNN, this is the latest thing that has happened. But remember, there was Kathy Griffin, who held up the severed head of Donald Trump and had to be fired for that. There was Reza Aslan, who started to say all that filth, you know, spew filth on Twitter about Donald Trump. And there was also that story where they said that James Comey, in his testimony before Congress, was going to say that it was inaccurate what Donald Trump had said, that 3 times he had told him he wasn't under investigation. In fact, James Comey, possibly inspired by Trump's threat of there being tapes, was forced to say, in fact, that he had told Donald Trump 3 separate times that there was no investigation, which has left this Russia story completely in the lurch and made all the ancillary investigations look utterly, utterly ridiculous. So let's take a look at some of this Project Veritas stuff that O'Keefe has come up with, all right? First of all, we have the guy, this is John Bonnifield, CNN supervising producer, and he's talking about liberal bias. This is cut number 3.
I think that there are a lot of like liberal CNN viewers who want to see Trump really get scrutinized, and I think if we would have behaved that way with President Obama and scrutinized everything that he was doing with as much scrutiny as we applied to Donald Trump, I think our viewers would have been turned off. I think they would have thought like we were attacking him. But I think our viewers right now, and I'm not saying all of our viewers are like super liberals. Right. I think there's just a lot of them, and
so Trump's good for business, you're saying?
Trump is good for business right now.
Okay, now the problem with this, I mean, is that of course it's true that now CNN has liberal viewers, but where did they come from? You think conservatives wouldn't watch a fair news station? Of course they would. You know, they watch Fox News because it's the only station where they can hear themselves represented at all in a fair and balanced manner, but they would go to CNN. You know, MSNBC is hiring Hugh Hewitt, and apparently their viewers are going crazy. But MSNBC sees an opening. This is a business opening because Fox News is floundering, and so MSNBC is bringing in Hugh Hewitt, who's a wonderful conservative commentator, and they gave him, I think, a Saturday morning show. And of course, their viewers burst a blood vessel. But if in fact they were to become a balanced station with conservative and liberal views, maybe their audience would expand. Maybe people's minds would expand. Maybe they would learn something. The thing is, the viewers, the super liberal viewers that Bonifield is talking about at CNN, they came second to the bias of the station. People stopped watching CNN because they were biased, and now the only people there are the people who are having their biases confirmed. So now their business model, right, their business model has to serve the people that are the audience. It's the only audience left. The only audience left is the liberals because they're liberals, and so now they have to serve the liberals. And it's this spiral. You get more and more and more liberal until finally you're just talking to yourself. Here is Bonifield goes on talking about, you learn about ethics in school, but now we've got this business model and we're fighting for our lives, and so we just have to feed the beast. This is cut 2.
All the nice cutesy little ethics that used to get talked about in journalism school, you're just like, that's adorable. That's adorable. Yeah, this is a business. Especially cable news. You know, cable news isn't the New York Times, and it's not even like NBC News. I mean, NBC News still gets 20 million viewers a night. Cable news is getting 1 million. So like they gotta do what they gotta do to make their money, I think. And so I love the news business, but I
find it so
I'm
fascinating.
very cynical about it. At the same time, so are most of my colleagues.
Yeah, it's like
I'm not alone.
So, I want to point out too that there's a very specific kind of news media that I personally go after. My friends at Newsbusters, which I love, one of my favorite sites, MRC, the Media Research Council, I think it is. I just love their stuff. But a lot of times they go after MSNBC, and whenever I talk to them, I always say, don't go after them. They're an honest broker of left-wing news. They give you left-wing commentary. Nobody goes to Rachel Maddow and thinks I'm going to get it fair and balanced. You go to Rachel Maddow for the same reason you go to Sean Hannity, to get their opinions on, which are going to be on for Maddow the left and Hannity on the right. You know what you're getting. There's nothing dishonest about that. There's nothing dishonest about that as long as they're talking about the facts and they're not making facts up. Sometimes they go astray in their vigor and their verve to get the opposition. I don't like what Hannity's doing with the Seth Rich thing. Unless he has information that I haven't seen, he really should let that go. But still, he's an honest guy. He says, I am a right-winger. Here is my right-wing opinion. Rachel Maddow, honest. I'm a left-winger. Here's my left-wing opinion. CNN, the New York Times, the networks, Washington Post, they pretend that they are the voice of truth. They speak in that, old-fashioned, newsy voice. This is the news. This is the news. And they are lying, and they're not just lying in some small level where there's some level of bias, where the reporter is biased and he's biased. It is very, very difficult now to pick up the New York Times and find the facts of the story. There is actually now a profession that we here at the Daily Wire are in, of sifting through what the New York Times and all these other people say, because they have the resources to send out reporters into the field, which a lot of websites don't have, of sifting through that information and trying to figure out what the real story is. Hey, I want to mention again, because we're going to have to say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube, I want to mention again that it's mailbag tomorrow, so come on over to thedailywire.com and subscribe. And I do want to say before you go that, I just noticed before coming on the air that LifeZet, which is Laura Ingram's website, LifeZet, and it has a part of pop culture called PopSet, has an article today called 4 Podcasts Truly Worth Your Time. And it includes Adam Carolla and Joe Rogan. And it includes this guy, the show you are listening to right this minute. It says the podcast from novelist and conservative Andrew Klavan is the most political on this list, but it's the creativity and thought he puts into his Daily Wire show that makes it stand apart from the others. That's Zachary Lehman. Clearly, he doesn't listen to the show and he drinks. But aside from that, that's very complimentary. And so this is what you will get if you come over to thedailywire.com and subscribe.